Greetings, dear friends, and welcome to a tale of resilience, passion, and the transformative power of love, set against the backdrop of a beloved culinary establishment. Enjoy the story. Jerry Connors had it all: a thriving restaurant, a loyal customer base, and a reputation as one of the city's top chefs. His establishment, the Gourmet Grotto, was the talk of the town, drawing in discerning diners from all over who sought out his innovative, flavor-packed dishes. With its warm, inviting ambiance and impeccable service, the Gourmet Grotto had become a beloved fixture in the community, a place where people came not just to eat, but to savor an unforgettable dining experience. But little did Jerry know, his trusted head chef was plotting his downfall. It all started about a year ago, when a new fast food joint, Burger Blitz, opened up just down the street from the Gourmet Grotto. Suddenly, the customers who had once flocked to Jerry's door were abandoning him in droves, lured away by the promise of cheap, quick eats. Jerry had hoped it was just a passing fad, that his loyal patrons would soon remember the unparalleled quality and artistry of his cuisine. But as business continued to nosedive, he realized something more sinister was at play. The truth finally came to light when Jerry discovered that his head chef, a culinary genius named Liam, had been conspiring to sabotage the restaurant. Liam, it seemed, had been planning to jump ship and take a job at a rival eatery, but in order to secure his new position, he had been instructed to systematically drive away Jerry's customers. Liam was jealous of the attention and praise I was getting, Jerry later revealed. He wanted to be the star, and he was willing to destroy everything I'd built to get there. Liam had started by making subtle changes to the menu, swapping out high-quality ingredients for cheaper alternatives. Slowly but surely, the dishes that had once been the talk of the town began to lose their luster. Customers started complaining about the decline in quality, and word began to spread that the Gourmet Grotto was no longer the culinary destination it once was. Liam didn't stop there. He also began to sabotage the restaurant's operations, deliberately scheduling staff shortages and creating chaos in the kitchen. Meals were taking longer to prepare, and the once impeccable service became sloppy and disorganized. Frustrated patrons began abandoning the restaurant, opting instead for the quick and consistent offerings at Burger Blitz. By the time Jerry caught wind of the betrayal and fired Liam, the damage was already done. Customers had abandoned the restaurant in droves, and Jerry found himself drowning in debt. Desperate to salvage his dream, he made the gut-wrenching decision to sell the property. As Jerry made his final rounds through the empty dining room, the once vibrant space now eerily silent, he felt a deep sense of loss. This place had been his passion, his life's work, and now it was all slipping away. With a heavy heart, Jerry made his way to the back alley, intending to lock up for the last time. But as he stepped outside, he noticed a movement in the shadows near the bushes. Cautiously, he approached the area, only to discover a woman and a young girl huddled there, clearly in distress. The woman, whose name was Lisa, quickly apologized, explaining that she and her 5-year-old daughter, Amy, had been using the restaurant's back alley as a makeshift shelter. They had grown accustomed to getting food from the waitresses, but with the establishment now closed, they had nowhere else to turn. Jerry's heart sank as he realized they were homeless, their lives in shambles. In that moment, he couldn't help but see a reflection of his own struggles in their plight. Moved by their situation, Jerry made a split-second decision. "Stay," he told them, "and you can clean up the place in exchange for food and shelter." Lisa's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you serious?" she asked, clutching Amy tightly. "We don't want to impose. We can find somewhere else." Jerry held up a hand, silencing her protests. "Please," he said, his voice soft but firm. "I insist. You and your daughter deserve a safe place to stay, and I could use the help getting this place in order before I—" His voice trailed off, the weight of his decision to sell the restaurant still heavy on his mind. Lisa studied him for a moment, searching his face for any hint of ulterior motive, but all she saw was genuine compassion. Slowly she nodded, a tentative smile spreading across her face. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. This means more to us than you know. And so, Lisa and Amy made themselves at home in the quiet, empty restaurant, throwing themselves into the task of cleaning and organizing the space. Jerry was amazed at the efficiency and care with which they worked, Lisa's attention to detail, and Amy's infectious energy transforming the once neglected dining room. Over the next few days, Jerry would return to check on their progress, and each time, he found himself drawn deeper into Lisa and Amy's world. He learned that Lisa had once been a regular patron at the Gourmet Grotto, back when she was newly married to a man named David. But then, in a cruel twist of fate, David had abandoned them, leaving Lisa and her daughter destitute. As Lisa shared her story, Jerry felt a pang of empathy. He knew all too well the pain of having everything you've worked for ripped away, and seeing the resilience and determination in Lisa's eyes, the way she refused to let her circumstances define her, only served to deepen his admiration. One afternoon, as Jerry sat with Lisa and Amy, sharing a meal she had expertly prepared, he made an impulsive offer. "When I reopen this place," he said, "I want you to be the chef." Lisa's eyes widened in surprise. You can't be serious," she stammered, her voice trembling. "I mean, I'm just a—" Jerry held up a hand, silencing her. "I've tasted your cooking, Lisa," he said, his gaze unwavering. "It's extraordinary, and I think together we can make this place better than it's ever been." For a moment Lisa was speechless, the weight of his words settling over her. Then a smile slowly blossomed on her face, and she nodded, her eyes shining with a newfound hope. "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's do it." The day the prospective buyers were scheduled to arrive, Jerry felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. This was his last chance to save his beloved restaurant, and he was determined to make it count. As the potential investors filtered in, Jerry proudly showcased Lisa's culinary skills, confident that her dishes would seal the deal. And he was right. The investors were unanimously impressed, raving about the depth of flavor and artistic presentation of the food. Jerry watched with a growing sense of optimism as they sampled dish after dish, their expressions shifting from skepticism to genuine delight. But then, to Jerry's horror, one of the investors turned out to be Lisa's ex-husband, David. The man immediately recognized Lisa and Amy, and his face contorted with a mixture of shock and rage. "What the hell is going on here?" David bellowed, his voice echoing through the dining room. "Lisa, you get your ass over here and bring that brat with you!" Lisa froze, her body going rigid with fear. Amy, sensing her mother's distress, clung tightly to her skirt, her eyes wide and frightened. Furious, Jerry stepped in, positioning himself between Lisa and David. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he said, his voice low and menacing. "This is my restaurant, and I won't tolerate any kind of abuse or harassment." But David was undeterred, his eyes narrowing as he glared at Jerry. "Oh, I'm not going anywhere," he sneered. "In fact, I'm about to make you an offer you can't refuse. This place is a gold mine, and I want in." Jerry felt his blood boil. "I think you're forgetting something," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "This is my restaurant, and I don't take kindly to people who threaten my staff." David let out a harsh laugh. "Your staff?" he scoffed. "That woman over there is my wife, and that little brat is my daughter. I have every right to be here, and I'm not leaving until I get what's mine." Jerry's eyes narrowed as he realized the full extent of David's depravity. "Lisa is no longer your wife," he said, his voice steady and unwavering. "And Amy is not your daughter, not anymore." With that, he turned to face the stunned investors, his expression resolute. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "I'm afraid I can no longer entertain any offers from this individual." He gestured towards David, his disgust palpable. "You see, this man has a history of abandoning his family, leaving them destitute and homeless, and I won't have him anywhere near my restaurant, or the people I care about." The investors exchanged uneasy glances, clearly unsure of how to proceed. But then, one of them, a well-respected businessman named William Sinclair, stepped forward. "Well, Mr. Connors," he said, his voice measured and calm, "it seems you've got quite a situation on your hands. But if what you say is true, then I'm inclined to believe you. And I must say, the food your chef has prepared is truly exceptional. I'd be honored to invest in your establishment. On one condition. Jerry felt a glimmer of hope. And what would that be, Mr. Sinclair? Sinclair's gaze flickered to Lisa and Amy, a warm smile spreading across his face. I want you to keep this family on as an integral part of the team. Their contribution to the success of this restaurant is undeniable, and I won't have it any other way. Jerry felt a surge of gratitude, and he nodded firmly. Done, he said, extending his hand to Sinclair. Thank you, sir. This means the world to me and to them. With that, Jerry turned to face David, his expression hardening. As for you, he said, his voice laced with steel, I suggest you leave, now. And if I ever see you near this place or my family again, I won't hesitate to have you arrested. David opened his mouth to protest, but the look in Jerry's eyes told him it would be a futile effort. Cursing under his breath, he stormed out, his dreams of cashing in on the restaurant's success crumbling around him. 3 months later, the restaurant had undergone a stunning transformation. The dining area had been renovated, with warm, inviting colors and elegant, modern furnishings that created a cozy yet sophisticated atmosphere. The kitchen, however, was the true showpiece, a state-of-the-art facility that had been specially designed to accommodate Lisa's culinary magic. On the night of the grand reopening, the place was packed to the brim, with eager diners eager to experience the new and improved gourmet grotto. As Jerry watched the bustling activity, a sense of pride and relief washed over him. Against all odds, he had managed to save his dream, and he owed it all to the remarkable woman who now stood at the helm of his kitchen. Lisa, her sleeves rolled up and a determined gleam in her eye, barked orders to her team of chefs, her movements fluid and efficient. The energy in the kitchen was palpable, and the aromas that wafted out into the dining room were enough to make even the most jaded foodie's mouth water. As the evening wore on, Jerry couldn't help but steal glances at Lisa, marveling at the way she had transformed not just the restaurant, but his own life. She had gone from a homeless, desperate woman to the driving force behind the gourmet grotto's resurgence, and Jerry couldn't help but feel a deep sense of admiration and affection for her. When the last dish had been served and the last patron had left, Jerry found Lisa in the empty dining room, her eyes shining with a mixture of exhaustion and pride. Wordlessly, he approached her, his heart pounding in his chest. "Lisa," he said, his voice soft and tinged with emotion, "I don't know how to thank you for what you've done. This place, it's alive again, all because of you." Lisa felt a blush creep across her cheeks as she met his gaze. "I couldn't have done it without you, Jerry," she murmured. "You gave me a chance when no one else would. You believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Jerry reached out, gently taking her hands in his. "That's because you're extraordinary, Lisa," he said, his eyes shining with sincerity. "From the moment I met you, huddled in that alley, I knew there was something special about you. And now, seeing you in action, leading this kitchen with such passion and skill," he paused, taking a deep breath. "I don't want to lose you, Lisa. Not again." Lisa's breath caught in her throat as she realized the implication of his words. "Jerry, what are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. In response, Jerry dropped to one knee, never once breaking eye contact with her. "Lisa," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, "will you marry me?" For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Lisa stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never dared to dream that her life could take such an unexpected turn, that the man who had saved her and her daughter from the brink of despair would now be offering her his heart. Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes," she breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Jerry, I will marry you." Jerry let out a breath he didn't even realize he'd been holding, and in one fluid motion, he rose to his feet and swept Lisa into his arms, twirling her around the empty dining room. Their laughter echoed through the space, a joyful symphony that seemed to breathe new life into the very walls of the gourmet grotto. As they held each other close, Jerry knew that this was more than just the reopening of his restaurant. It was the start of a new chapter, one filled with love, hope, and the promise of a future brighter than either of them could have ever imagined.